what we're actually doing, and that is in going live. Let's do this right here. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. We're going to go back and do this again. If there's anyone out there that's waiting, we're going to wait until someone else comes on, and we're going to give just a few minutes before we actually take off and get things going. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And gotta get off to a little of a late start. My name is Gregory Tucker, and this is Night Beat Media's Living the Dream. During this podcast, what we have in our previous episode is this is your first time joining us. We examine the journey of entrepreneurs or individuals who have stepped outside of their comfort zone. And I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone this afternoon. So for those of you who have taken the time and shared your time for us in watching this program, I want to say first and foremost, thank you. And also to let you know, this is the very first venture of stepping outside of my own personal comfort zone and doing a live. Now, how did this come about? this came about as far as from a challenge from a 13-year-old. That was my granddaughter. She challenged me to actually do this. She had somehow watched a episode of my podcast, and she called me out and said, "Hey, I see that your program is based upon others stepping outside of their comfort zone, and have you ever done a live?" And I'm thinking, no, because between us, there's always that fear. There's a tremendous fear of removing the safety net. The safety net is that when I tape an episode or I interview a guest on the program, I have the opportunity as far as to edit. In the event if there's something that is said, or if I'm using too many filler words, I can always go back in and I can make a correction on that. Well, when you're doing a live, that's when you don't have that safety net there. Whatever is said, it's out there in the ether. Now, you can always go back and you could tweak your playback, but this is where the rubber hits the road. Again, what I always suggest, and that is whenever you're getting ready to do this, always prepare for uninvited guests. And that one uninvited guest is always going to show up, and that individual's name is Murphy. Now, Murphy could be a female or a male. I'm just leaving that out there. I'm not going to go into genderizing it. But before actually starting today, I had some issues as far as with my lighting. Now, I knew the lights were working because I had a training session that I used them on the other evening, and everything was really working. Today, when I went to go live, guess what? The lights are not working. So it took a moment for us to get things going. And as I'm troubleshooting, the clock is ticking. Now, it's not that I haven't been in a situation like this before, because that's what I do. I do remote productions for working for other individuals. And on occasions, there has been some issues that surfaced at the moment, or pretty close to the moment that the ship is ready to leave the harbor for its showtime. So one of the things that I often advise my crew, and that is, don't panic. Take a deep breath, step back, try to get a broader picture of the situation, and then think your way through it. Don't stay married or focus just on the time as it's ticking down. Approach the problem and then immediately start troubleshooting. Because if you panic, then all is lost. And that's whether it's whatever you're doing, or if it's in a project that you and co-workers are working on, or whatever it is. If you begin to freak out and panic, then a small problem becomes a huge problem. So uh, we wanted to go ahead and explain that's one of the reasons why this evening it was a little slower getting out. But after all is said and done, here I am, and here we go. Now, the other part of the subtitle on the thumbnail, and that is facing one's fear. Because we're afraid of so many things. I'm an introvert at heart. Public speaking is something that I was explaining to my granddaughter that I began to get butterflies. My stomach begins to tie up in a knot. My blood pressure elevates. My breathing begins to increase. But I remember something that I was told a while back, and that was it's okay to feel scared. It's okay to have those butterflies. What you want to do, and that is train the butterflies in order to fly in the direction that you need them to, or they have to. So that way you're moving forward. And with that said, that's something that I have taken throughout my life, and that is to stay focused and to go ahead and step out there. It doesn't mean that I'm going to succeed. That means that I'm facing my fear. I'm looking it in the eye. And I'm saying, I am in control of how I approach this thing and how I'm feeling right at this particular point in time. Now, again, there's no Hollywood ending or Hollywood finish that, hey, I've crossed that bridge or I stepped out there and everything just worked itself out. No, that's not the real world. The real world is, hey, we will have issues as far as with our lights. We'll have issues with our audio at times. And we will have issues as far as utilizing as far as some of the tech that we have. But with all that being said, we still have to face it and keep moving forward, because what or being focused on it or being stuck on that, is that going to change anything? I don't think so. So my belief is I just have to keep on moving forward right there. I'm going to face my fear and keep on going. Now, I came across something that kind of relates to this also, and that was um, kind of like a quote. And the way that quote went was, the only limit to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today. And when you doubt something, you doubt, when you start doubting yourself that you can do it before even trying, then that's when you limit yourself. So, with that said, I just had to get that out there. Again, I'm stepping out far as of my comfort zone, and that is doing this live right now. And I have to say, in the beginning, my heart, if you could have listened to my heart, it would have sounded like it was about to jump out my chest. My breathing, uh, it was really going there. I keep my inhaler on track, and maybe that's too much information, but just in case if I began to hyperventilate. But once I began to move forward, it's kind of like jumping into the pool when you first learn to swim. You're going to you're going to feel a certain amount of stress whenever it's your first time doing anything. And if you don't have a certain amount of fear, then I don't know what to tell you. I can't say that there's something wrong with it, but I think that's just part of being human is having a certain amount of fear or anxiety. Nelson Mandela says everybody feels you can't do something until it's done. That may not be word for word, but I'm not pulling up, going to Google and trying to look it up. But the thing is that sometimes our biggest obstacle as far as getting things accomplished or getting things done, and that is ourself and having that doubt of our abilities of doing something before we even attempted to do it. So now what I tend to do is I tend to move forward, and that is if I don't know anything about it, I'm not going to let that stop me from learning and depending upon the subject, move forward and take that risk of stepping out there and attempting it. Now, I'm not going to say, I want to know how to do surgery or something, crazy that's totally out of my wheelhouse. You know, everything has to be within moderation, and it also has to be something that's practical and realistic also. So there we go with that. And now, as I mentioned, I do freelance productions as far as remote productions for individuals or nonprofits. And what that does is that gives me an opportunity as far as of utilizing something that I'm very passionate about, and that is creating something, or more so, helping someone else get their message out. We also do a podcast, and it's called Nightbeat Media's Living the Dream. And it's something that I find very enjoyable because it gives me an opportunity to have conversations. And over the years, I've had some tremendous conversations with some, uh, I would say, very interesting individuals. These are real people with real stories. And one of the things that we, when I initially approached them, and that was, you're going to do a podcast. This was before the podcast thing really began to blow up. I was doing it back in, I believe that was that 2003? And I started doing it in a little basement studio. And as time goes on, I think I'll show some of the pictures, not on this particular live, but hopefully, oh, well, not hopefully, because that's kind of sounds like somebody that's on the fence, or what do they say, being mealy mouthed? That is, you're not committed. When you're committed, you say, I will be back, and show pictures of the early days when I was first starting out, and what were some of the failures, and what were some of the successes that I had along this journey. And it's not that the journey is at the end of the journey. The journey is just beginning, because as time goes on, I'm what they call a journey learner. And that is, as I begin to move forward, I'm learning more and more and more. And that could bring me back to the podcast and the conversations that I've had the honor of having with several of my guests that has appeared on the podcast. The whole premise has been that we learn a tremendous amount far as from others' stories. Now, we're not on that same trajectory, but at the same time, there's something that is transferable far as from their experience that can resonate with us. And that's one of the things that I find it quenches my curiosity in having those conversations. And as I mentioned, doing this right here, this content creation, or we used to call it back in the day, video production, that it has provided me an opportunity to meet some very interesting individuals. And I've learned a lot over those years. And I would like to share those conversations far as with you. And not only do I want to share their conversations with you, but I'm always looking for someone else who wants to share their story. And it's not that we want to hear stories that are flowery. We want to hear real stories, real experiences right there. And it has to be something that will help others along the way. Because we don't want to just put out something that's not going to give a return upon someone's time. And that leads me far as to this right here. I'm hoping if you happen to have stopped in this afternoon and spent some of your valuable time for watching this, then I want to say wholeheartedly, I thank you. And at the same time, I'm hoping that it was time well spent and that you were able to get a return on your investment. Now, one thing that I want to be sure that if you have something, or if you would like to follow along on this journey, if you would like to follow me along on this journey, then this is my contact information right here. If you would like to know more about our guests who have already been on the program and see some of those conversations, then you can tune in. You can find those at nightbeatmedia.com. I'm also on Facebook, and there it is right there. And that's Facebook, Living the Dream LDTV, YouTube, and on LinkedIn. Now, I would like to ask something of you as well. And that is, if you're viewing this live or if you're looking at this in the playback, please leave a comment. And if you're finding value and you're getting return, also hit the like. Again, leave a comment. At least says, I have a ROI. It was a good ROI, that you received an ROI. And that's a return on your investment. And that is priceless. That's your time. Your time is priceless. So if you can leave those things or give me a suggestion on thick skin, let me know. Oh, this is a suggestion on how to improve upon your program. Then by all means, do that. I look forward to hearing from you. And if there is something or a story that you would like to share with us, by all means, reach out. Until the next time, I'm hoping you are living your dreams and that you are stepping outside of your comfort zone. Because sometimes we become so comfortable in staying in what we know versus opening that door and looking out and seeing other possibilities. So again, it's living the dream, and I hope you are living yours. And that's all I have to say about that. But one more quote, and that is from Harley Davidson. And I'm not quite sure, because we're finding out, every quote is coming from the source that we think it is. But I am going to use it. That is, when you're writing the story of your life, be sure that you're holding. So with that said, it's been wonderful. Thank you for tuning in. And remember to hit like and to follow us on our continuation of our journey.